how did you decide like which schools you want to apply to?
Uh, so in my first cycle, because I was living in New York, I kind of restricted myself to the East Coast area. When I was applying in 2020, my husband got a job in LA, and I wanted to stick to this area. So I researched more about the California schools, and that's when I applied to those schools in California, and I applied to a few other schools wherever the fees is less. For us, it's like a huge loan. So that was, I would say, being with family is one of the most important things. So whenever you get a chance, it's not always a choice. Like sometimes you have to stay apart, but if you get that chance, and I was lucky enough to get accepted to the California schools. So yeah, that's how I
Also,
chose.
I think schools want like family reunion. So wherever your
Exactly.
husband or your family is living, they try to have those students there.
Yes, and they know how difficult it is, especially those advanced dental programs. It gets very brutal when those lab sessions. So it's nice to come home and be with
Yeah.
your family. And schools know that.
True.
So they try to stick to the students who live in the area, I would say,
Yeah.
to some extent. Not everyone they
Yeah.
choose is from the
Sure.
same area, but yeah, they like that.
Okay. So Anuja, I got a lot of questions about the personal statement because it's limited to 50 to 100 characters. So what do you think? What's the best approach to write that? And what kind of experience and stories do you think we can include?
So just tying back to what I said previously, write your story. So I have seen a lot of my friends getting professional help. There is nothing bad about that, but I think the first draft should be written by you. How much ever simple the English is, it doesn't matter. Start very early. I remember and I didn't know it was just for 50 200 characters. So I wrote such long pages, and I was like, and then when it came to, just concising to that character limit, it was very difficult. So just start writing on a piece of paper what would you want to write. And also I think just identifying you where you fit into those categories, for example nationality, wherever, tying to your stats, as I said, is very important. So it has to be, very as I said, just tie to your story. uh Definitely write your first draft and give it to your friends, and maybe not to a lot of people because everyone has
Different.
something, yeah, something else to say. So I would say someone you're very confident, someone who thoroughly, to a friend, to a family member, or a dentist you work with, because I showed my personal statement to a dentist that I used to work with, and she had some amazing insights to it. um yeah, so that's what I would say. I changed my personal statement a lot from my first cycle to my second cycle. In my first cycle, I talked about all the, you try to brag about your
Yeah.
achievements, you want to show everything that you have. In the second statement, I just wrote about my family, about my school, everything that I wanted them to know about me.
Right.
So just be very confident and start early. Get feedbacks from some people, and yeah, trust yourself, I would say.
Yeah.
Even though you fail, just write it down. Whatever your failures are, just tie them to your story, like what you learned through them. That's all.
It doesn't have to be related to dentistry. And I realize when we keep writing lot many drafts, we get more real. So that's what
Exactly.
they like because they want to read something interesting and not what everyone is writing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say take breaks. That's what,
Yeah.
so when you read the same piece of paper, like over and over again, it just, you don't understand what is different this time. You don't feel it different. So go for a walk, listen to music, come back to it. Don't look at it for like 3 or 4 days.
True.
That's how, every time you read it, you'll have a different perspective.
Yeah. And about letters of recommendation, I know few dentists or your faculty members write for you, but some of them tell you to write. So that's really difficult because you don't know how to write good about yourself. So
Yeah.
do you have any trick how everyone could manage that?
I would say, yeah, it's very difficult when they tell you to write yourself, and I have done that myself. But for that, I would. what I had done, I set up some time with all those people. They were planning to write it for me. So I asked them what would you describe me as, just like
Yeah.
quickly, so that it doesn't have to be what you think about yourself. But so that's what I did. I talked to them. I set up some time and make sure that you do it very early in the process. It's kind of,
Yeah.
you know, late in the process, it kind of feels like you're pushing them and respect their time. So, yeah.
I also think most people who don't like who have to write on their own, they always let's go to the next question. It's already been a year since you're in Loma Linda. So do you think all the hard work that you went through to get into school is worth it after a year of experience now?
Sometimes when you have to go back to the lab, it's just like so painful, and you ask yourself, why am I here? But of course, it's worth it. You kind of dream of that day when you have the license and of that first paycheck, because all this is like, you're just draining so much of money through capit, through
Yeah,
the school tuition fees. But when you see your patients the first day of clinics, you're kind of nervous because you're not in touch with dentistry for a while, especially being on the provider side. But of course, when you see them, you're in control of your clinic space. That's when you feel, yeah, this is worth it.
true. So many people message me saying, "Oh, you're from Loma Linda. Would you provide us reference?" So most people think that Loma Linda accepts references. So I don't know because I've not still gone to the school. So what do you think about that?
I honestly speaking, when I moved to California, that's when I decided to, explore Loma Linda more. Because being in East Coast, I didn't know much about. I of course knew about the school, but I didn't know about the area, and I wasn't sure. So I never got in touch with any of the school as faculty. I didn't know
Yeah,
anyone
same
for
here.
that.
Yeah,
So I applied through Capid almost on the last day. I remember I submitted my application one day before, and I was fortunate because the school is not on rolling basis, so they went through my application. But yeah, I am not the right person because I have no idea about that.
I
Um,
think every school focuses on family reunion, but I don't
yeah,
think they
exactly.
accept references.
About to say that they like if if your spouse is in the school,
Yeah,
they would want to they would want you also in the school, and they kind of guide through because you already know how the culture is, how the school is, what the school focuses on. You kind of know the culture, so that definitely helps. But I don't know more about the
yeah.
references. They love the family members, but I would say that's it.
Yeah. A major question for reapplicants because it's very difficult to keep up your hope and then apply in the next cycle. And we all have gone through the same phase. So, what do you think? How do you give hope to the reapplicants? Because everyone who gets accepted, they celebrate their achievements. But I really wanted to have a platform where we also encourage people and give them some hope.
To be honest, I feel everyone's journey is so different. Like, I can speak on behalf of my class, at least in those terms. There are some people who have applied 5 times, 6 times. Some of them are through in their first cycle. Some of them applied like they know everyone at Loma Linda, but it still took them 3 years to get into the program. Um, I would say just believe in yourself. It is so difficult to say because I didn't believe in myself when I was reapplying. I remember those, nights when I was like just throwing tantrums, and I'm like, I don't know what this capit cycle is about. I don't understand what they're looking for because every school has a different criteria, as we discussed before, and you never fit into that one particular criteria because everyone is so unique, and you don't know how to showcase your skills to the reapplicants. I can share from my experience. I was just hoping the pandemic gets over and there are more bench exams because I
Yeah,
kind of felt more confident about my clinical skills, because in interview it is very difficult to um, show that how attractive your personality is. But when your work speaks and you're already through the first that bench prep, that's when things become easier for you, you know.
True.
um, to the reapplicants, I would say just write on a piece of paper what your best or unique um, trait is and just focus on that. I would say it was very difficult for me, and I'm sure it was difficult for you to get back to the applying. I remember when I remember that capit application when you hit that login again button, and I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore.
It's very
And
frustrating.
it is very painful, and especially because you're not earning enough. You know how much your worth is, and you're still struggling to prove to the society that, you know, I am this person, and there is a reason that I'm trying to do this. There are very few people, for example, only your immediate family, your spouse, your siblings, or your very close friends who understand that. There are a lot of people who make stories about you. Oh, you know, she's still doing that. There are people who they just like to hear negative stories. They So it is very difficult. So just take your time, I would say. Even if it feels like a failure, there is a reason that you're trying to do this. This is for yourself. Nobody
True.
else is gonna walk your path. So I would say just, yeah, just believe in yourself. Watch movies, go for long walks, hike, travel, do whatever, but just get back.
Yeah.
It is how much ever difficult it is. I think when you get that acceptance letter from the school, I think that day you feel you are worth it again, and you're just trying to prove it to yourself and nobody else.
While I was talking to you, you told me how everyone in your class is so different. There is diversity. There are people, there's one student who's even 48 years old. So, do you want to talk about the demographics a little bit?
So I would say that's what I think. Every school wants different people. As I said, school focuses on different personalities. Some single, some married people, so that they have that balance in the school. Not everyone is in their 20s, for sure. So the age range for my class, at least, I would say, is from 26 to 48. Demographics, of course, they want a few, they try to balance the nationalities as well, as you know. So I would say just write on a piece of paper what all stats you have and try to be best in that category. They don't want everyone who has dental assisting experience. They don't want everyone who has 15 years of experience, for that matter. There are fresh graduates in my class. There are some who have worked as a dentist or dental assistant for almost 10 years. So yeah, so be very comfortable in your skin. Whatever you have, just present in a best way.
Right. And one last question, that people have so many myths about Loma Linda, that because it's a religious school, you have to be religious. Also, you have to go to church regularly and you have to be vegetarian. So, do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because I know that you don't have, it's not that you have to be religious.
Yeah. Of course. So, because it is heavily funded by churches, right? So, and they have a different culture than any other school, that is there for sure. You don't have to be a vegetarian, of course, but because SDA believes in this healthy lifestyle,
Yeah.
whatever school programs that you have or banquets that you have, they make sure that there is no caffeine or there is vegetarian food there, but they don't refrain you from eating non-veg or something. Apart from that, I was in the pandemic batch, one of the pandemic batches. So going to a chapel was not compulsory for us. And also, for that matter, for advanced standing program, it is not compulsory for us. For the traditional 4-year program, they have chapel service on Wednesdays, I think for 45 minutes. But for us, it's not, because they know we are busy with the clinics. We just have a 2-year program. So
So that was not the last question. I I felt that Loma Linda executes a very interesting pattern of interviews. Like they're just talking to you, like you and me are talking. It's not
yeah,
like a formal interview, which is so
yes,
interesting and enjoyable. And they get to see your real self.
yeah.
So, do you want to talk a little bit about the interview? Also, they ask you religious questions sometimes.
Um, I was not asked religious questions in Lomalanda, so that's another interesting part of conversation. Do you mind if I, talk about different interview experiences that I've had?
Please
Because
talk.
that's just so I had interviewed at, I would say, I had interviewed at Rutgers. I interviewed at NYU. I interviewed at Western University of Health Sciences. I interviewed at UCSF. I interviewed at Lomalanda. So I would say every experience was very different from the previous one. What I liked about Loma Linda was, first of all, bench test. So that's when I got to see the school, right? I had not visited any other schools for that matter. And that also gives you that advantage. Oh, you know how the building looks, how the clinic looks, how who are the people there. And that was a really nice part where on bench, they had the D4 class there to help us through everything that we need on the bench prep. There were faculty members already greeting us. That I really find nice about the school. There were some schools where I interviewed at, we didn't have a single faculty or a single, current student to ask
Yeah.
questions. That also shows a lot about the school, that how much they care about their incoming students, how welcoming they are. So that I really liked, and that set apart Lomananda from the other schools. Another experience that I really liked was Western University of Health Sciences. So we were broken into different Zoom sessions, and they answered all the questions that we had. Like the current students, they stayed with us for 1.5 hours, and we kept asking them questions. So and the professor, my interview was, I think, 1 hour long there, and it was a really nice interview as well. The kind of questions they ask, they also tell you how interested they are in
Mm.
knowing you. You feel in your gut, like this is something that I like. They want me to speak more about me
Right.
or my experiences. They're very interesting, or they're very interested in you. So trust your gut. And whenever you have that nice experience, just go for it. So that's how I narrowed down my school choice as well. Yeah, there were some schools which did not have um, any question answer sessions, as I said, that I did not appreciate. So
So, Anuja, thank you so much for being here. I think everyone would want to get in touch with you once they get an invite from Loma Linda. So, if you want to give your email address so that they can get some help.
of course, do you want me to give it to you, like spell it to you now?
Yeah,
It's
sure.
my first and last name, Anuja Ghodekar at gmail.com. You can also reach out to me through via you if you want. If you have any queries on your page, that's good too. Like I would love to help anyone who needs one.
Awesome. Thank you so much for
Of
taking out
course.
time. It was amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.